So B-site Mirage hasn't changed much over the years, but the way you play B-site has. Today I'm going to be showing you how the best players in the world play B-site Mirage, and by the end of this video you will have all the tools you need to play B-site just like the pros. So let's get started. I'm going to split this video up into a couple different sections. We'll go through how to start your rounds, what your best angles and positions are, and how to react to rushes, executes, and everything in between. So how do you start your round at B-site on Mirage? Most of the time you want to start with a molly. There are generally two different ones you can start with, a deep molly or a close molly. Usually you want to use the deep molly, especially on a normal gun round, since it blocks off the tees from walking up apps early. To throw it, you stand in front of default, aim at this mark above the window, and then running throw the molly. Most of the time you want to combo a HE after the molly finishes, so if there are any tees in apps, they will take a ton of damage trying to walk in after the molly fades. The main times you want to use a close molly instead of the deep molly is if you think the tees might be rushing on this round. It's a good rule of thumb to use the close molly when the tees are on an eco, since rushing B is a very common play in these types of rounds. Now, jump spotting is obviously one of the most important things about playing the B site on Mirage, and obviously it's a bit of a meme. However, most people actually jump spot incorrectly. As you can see from this example, you actually want to jump spot on the left side here. And the reason for this is that it's almost impossible for the tees to pick you off on this jump spot. On the regular jump spot I see most people doing, the chance of you being killed is actually a lot higher than you think, and if someone has been practicing using Refrag, you probably would get picked off here. As you can see from Magic's POV here, this jump spot is almost impossible to react to, and even if you do see them, it's very difficult to hit a headshot and kill the player jump spotting. So you should use this jump spot as much as possible. It is the meta right now. Once you see someone while you're jump spotting, you have a couple of options. If you think the T player is just lurking, throwing smoke at this point is a great option. You can do so just aiming here and left click throw. If you think the T's are trying to push you with numbers though, the best option is actually to drop your smoke at this pillar right here. This gives you a ton of room to play around with and just delay for time. It's super important as an anchor player to stay alive as long as possible. If you manage to buy enough time, the T's are really going to struggle to win the round once your teammates are able to rotate in. So that's kind of how you start every round on B-site Mirage. Now let's quickly cover some really nice angles you can use in the mid to late round when you don't really want to jump spot too much anymore or you have very limited utility. The first angle I've seen a lot of players use is this angle on top of the bench. This is a great angle to use if you know the T's like to try and lurk out a lot towards the B side. It's super hard for them to clear this angle, and most of the time you will get the kill here. Another angle which isn't as popular but I think is also incredibly strong is this little off angle on the van. When players try to lurk out apps, they usually walk out clearing the market window. This is basically where we take contact, and this catches a lot of players off guard. If you have an SMG or a pistol, playing around the default position is a great way to catch people off with a headshot angle. This also works obviously at the van, and top balcony is also a great position to throw in every now and again. The main thing when you're thinking about your positioning is you want to mix things up as much as possible. If you become predictable, you're going to really struggle to hold the B site, and people are going to learn where you're playing and hard counter you. Now, when you are defending against B rushes, B executes, and B pops, you have a few important things to consider. So against B rushes, immediately your utility is very important to react with. Normally in a B rush, you will have some warning signs. Maybe a smoke is flying over, or you hear a flash popping above the site. Your teammate on short might also hear a lot of footsteps at the start of the round. If you still have your molly at this point, it's a good idea to throw it into apps around this window area. This blocks off T's trying to jump out the window or even go out the balcony. And if they smoke the molly, it makes it pretty difficult for them to kind of jump through the window as they get gray screened. Usually on a B rush, it will be difficult to use your smoke in time. So something that a lot of pros do instead is just throw a flash high behind the site and try and get to the back side. This flash is really strong in just blinding the balcony as well as any T's who have jumped out apps towards the van. When we're talking about executes or B pops, the best thing to do is to use your smoke if you still have it. The smoke at the van pillar is incredibly good to help you sneak around and find 1 or 2 kills before your team is able to rotate in. You can also use the flash I talked about before to just give you some time to get into position to defend the site. Obviously, this is easier said than done, and of course it's going to take a lot of practice. Because of that, I have specifically made a Refrag VPL playlist for you guys to practice defending the B site. This playlist includes scenarios such as B rush, a B execute, as well as a B pop, helping you be fully prepared for the real real deal. VPL is a refrag game mode where you can play against set rounds and strategies. You can make these strategies yourself, of course, or just use the ones that community members have made on the community hub. I'll leave a link to this playlist down below for you guys to subscribe to. And if you don't have a Refrag subscription yet, you can use the code YTVPL15 for 15% off your Refrag subscription. So if you were looking for a reason to try out Refrag, now's the time. So that covers the basics about defending B-site on Mirage. To put everything together, start the majority of your rounds with a molly. Against a full buy, use a deep molly. Against an eco, or if you think the T's might be rushing B, you can use the close molly instead. After you molly, use this left side jump spot to get information on any players trying to push up. If you spot someone, it's a good idea to use your smoke or get into a nice off angle to catch them off guard. If you have low money, playing up close and personal is a good idea. Playing on top of the balcony, at van, or behind default box are all popular choices in these rounds. Make use of the off angles I mentioned previously if you know your opponents like to lurk up in B apps. This is also not a bad idea if you just don't have any utility left and it's getting late in the round. Lastly, of course, get some practice in using Refrag's VPL mode. You can also use Refrag's Defender mode, which is a nice option against just more of the standard situations that you're going to face. Again, that VPL playlist is linked below. Hopefully this helped you guys out. Thanks for watching and peace out.